Every time a war breaks out, the smart money crowd doesn't freak out. They log in, they grab their phones, open their brokerage apps, and start reallocating capital faster than a Pentagon drone strike. Why? Because while regular folks are watching air raid sirens on TV, panicking about WE3, and buying duct tape and canned beans, the elite are reshuffling portfolios into stocks that feast on global misery. Because war, for all its blood and horror, is also an economic event. Cities get flattened, families get torn apart, and yet certain sectors start printing money like a corrupt central bank on cocaine. We're talking oil, weapons, wheat, cybersecurity. Energy prices go vertical, supply chains fall apart, commodities get bid to the moon, and governments, they start writing trillion-dollar checks for bullets, bombs, and bandwidth like there's no tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're on your couch, paralyzed, wondering why that aerospace ETF you laughed at 2 weeks ago just doubled again. In this video, we're breaking it all down. How war works financially, the companies that thrive, the sectors that boom, the historical patterns that repeat, like bad fashion trends, and most importantly, how to position yourself not as a casualty, but as someone who actually profits while the world goes to hell. Let's go. Peacetime is for apps. Wartime is for assets. When the world's calm, society runs on excess. We overconsume, overanalyze, and over-optimize nonsense. We argue over almond versus oat milk, drop new apps that solve fake problems, and go to Bali for self-discovery funded by VC Cash or Daddy's Amex. But war? War doesn't give a damn about your SaaS platform for dog yoga. It slams everything back to survival mode. Energy, food, security, and stability. Suddenly, no one cares about your UX. They care about diesel, wheat, and bunker doors. And when society gets stripped to its bare bones, capital moves with it. Back to the roots. Back to what matters. And that's where the money starts flowing. Trigger events, how the dominoes fall. It usually starts with a spark, an invasion, a missile, a high-profile assassination. Suddenly, markets freeze. Supply chains seize up like an overcooked engine. Here's why. Shipping companies flee. War zones are insurance nightmares. Cargo ships don't want to get hijacked or hit by missiles, so they reroute or stop moving altogether. Ports become targets. Enemy states go for the jugular. Ports. They bomb, blockade, or seize key logistical hubs, turning commerce into a chessboard of risk. Sanctions hit. Western powers slap sanctions on aggressors. Companies panic, sever ties, and scramble for alternative suppliers. Global trade contracts overnight. Fragile chains snap. Modern supply chains are lean, designed for cost, not resilience. So when one part breaks, a port, a factory, a shipping lane, the entire chain starts falling apart like IKEA furniture in a flood. Energy, the first battlefield. The moment global supply chains start to crumble, energy transforms from a utility into a weapon. Control the flow of oil and gas, and you don't just power economies, you dominate them. That's why in wartime, pipelines aren't infrastructure. They're strategic choke points. Ports aren't just trade hubs, they're targets. And power grids, they're glowing bullseyes for hackers, drones, and long-range missiles. Because without oil, your military stops moving. No tanks, no jets, no convoys. Without gas, your industry freezes. Literally, steel plants go silent. Chemical production halts. Fertilizer plants shut down. And without electricity, forget it. Gen Z will riot the second the Wi-Fi cuts out and they can't reload TikTok. It's not just about rising prices, it's about total systemic vulnerability. Energy is the skeleton key to modern civilization, and during war, every government knows it. Take Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Russia didn't just send tanks, they turned off the tap. Europe, addicted to cheap Russian gas, got choked out. Germany, the continent's manufacturing muscle, slashed production. Meanwhile, the UK watched in horror as energy bills tripled, sending middle-class families into a cost-of-living nightmare. But on the other side of the Atlantic, it was payday. US energy giants like Cheniere Energy had their biggest glow-up in years. They liquefied American gas, slapped a price tag on it, and shipped it to desperate Europeans who had no other option but to pay up. We're not talking millions, we're talking billions in profits. While Europeans layered up for winter, Cheniere execs were buying super yachts and naming them things like "Thanks Vlad." War doesn't kill the energy game, it supercharges it. Agriculture, when war starves the world. If energy is the first domino to fall, agriculture is the second. And when it topples, things get truly apocalyptic. Modern farming is a delicate, industrialized miracle. It relies on a web of diesel, chemicals, labor, shipping, and access to stable markets. Take out just one of those links and your lush farmland, it becomes overpriced dirt, crops rot, tractors sit idle, fertilizer runs dry, and even if the crops grow, there's no one to buy, ship, or eat them. Let's talk about Ukraine. Not just some potato patch, we're talking about the breadbasket of Europe and a top global grain exporter. When Russia's tanks rolled in, Ukraine's exports rolled out, as in gone. Ports shut, fields bombed, infrastructure wrecked. The result? Wheat prices went vertical, up 60% in just 3 months. That's not market volatility. That's famine risk. Nations like Egypt, Pakistan, and Somalia, who rely heavily on imported grain, were suddenly staring down full-blown food crises. Not inflation, starvation. And yet, in the ashes, came the winners. Enter Archer Daniels Midland, ADM Bunge and CF Industries. While the world panicked, they pounced. ADM rerouted grain out of the US and Brazil to fill the vacuum at premium wartime prices. Bunge did the same from Argentina. CF Industries, they jacked fertilizer prices and cashed in like it was a financial Super Bowl. Because when war burns the food system, these companies don't feed the world out of charity. They invoice it. Luxury gets crushed. Essentials get paid. War doesn't just shift markets. It decapitates industries. Let's get one thing straight. War doesn't care about your lifestyle brand. It doesn't care about your influencer retreat in Tulum or your boutique candle startup. In wartime, fragile sectors collapse like Jenga towers in an earthquake.
Tourism, vaporized.
Who's buying flights to Paris when missiles are falling on the next country over? Hospitality, done. No one's checking into a 5-star spa when they're Googling how to filter river water with a sock. Advertising, slaughtered. When CNN's 24/7 Chiron says war in Taiwan, Coca-Cola isn't buying primetime ad slots for their new Mango Peach Zero Sugar blend. Luxury goods, LOL. Good luck selling a $3,000 Chanel bag when consumer confidence is measured in gallons of gasoline. And let's pull one out for the startups. You know those sweet little tech bros with vision boards, VC backing, and kombucha on tap?
Yeah.
Their calls stop getting answered. The funding dries up, the runway ends, and the disruptors get disrupted by reality. This is the financial migration pattern of war. It strips capital from fluff and redirects it to function. If it's not necessary, it's gone. If it doesn't move tanks, feed people, secure data, or produce firepower, it's irrelevant. Money doesn't die in war. It moves violently, rapidly, and mercilessly. War reallocates capital. Most people think war is destruction. And sure, physically yes, but financially, it's redistribution on steroids. War doesn't erase capital from the global system, it reroutes it. From weak hands to strong hands, from useless speculation to strategic production, from startups trying to reinvent the toothbrush to multinationals making drones, diesel, and fertilizer. If you're sitting around wondering why your ESG fund is bleeding while defense contractors hit all-time highs, it's because you didn't get the memo. War reallocates wealth. And the ones who see the patterns, the ones who understand the dominoes, ride the wave instead of getting crushed by it. Sponsored by Chat LLM by Abacus AI. Quick shout out to today's sponsor, Chat LLM by Abacus AI. Here's the pitch, and it's actually useful. If you're using multiple LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., you're wasting time flipping tabs like a junkie on Adderall. Chat LLM combines all of them in one interface. You prompt once, it routes to the best model, and you can switch models on the fly if you don't like the answer. Plus, it's cheap. $10 a month, less than Netflix, and way more productive. I also used their Deep Agent to fact-check this video. Gave me a 10-page report with real citations, not some hallucinated BS. Check it out at chatlm.abacus.ai, link in the description. Now let's get back to war profiteering. How to position your portfolio. Let's be clear, we're not rooting for bombs. But since we can't stop geopolitical chaos, we might as well understand the mechanics and invest accordingly. Step 1, rotate into wartime sectors, assets that provide necessities, enable warfare, preserve, or grow in value. Let's break it down by sector. The general oil and gas, the bloodline of war. Nothing moves without fossil fuel. Tanks, jets, supply convoys, manufacturing, all of it runs on oil or gas. So when pipelines get sabotaged, shipping routes shut down, or major suppliers get sanctioned, guess what happens? Prices spike. Supply squeezes. Stocks move. Historical proof. 2022 Russia, Ukraine. Brent crude went from $76 to 130s. 2003 Iraq invasion. Crude jumped from 1990 Gulf War. Oil doubled in price within months. Your play. ExxonMobil, Exxon, Oil Godzilla, from 6 Chevron, CVX, Slimmer, US-focused oil beast, Alanon, Shell, Eurogas exposure, Cheniere, LNG,